The Scholastic Aptitude Test, ACT, and the American College Test, ACT, are unequivocally the most important standardized tests for high school students. Both tests have the ability to determine the colleges that a student is eligible to apply for and the scholarships that a student is eligible to apply for and receive. Both of these standardized tests were created in an attempt to standardize college admission procedures and further increase the access of higher education to students. Prior to the invention of these tests, individual universities would utilize their own testing to determine the students who would be admitted into their university or not, or these universities would forego this testing altogether. As you can imagine, this caused a great disparity in the difficulty of these tests, and there are many issues that arose because of the unfairness of this system. This created the need for something to be done. That is why tests like the SAT and the ACT were created. In 1926, the SAT was created to assess the aptitude for learning instead of testing learned knowledge that was present in the college boards prior to the SAT. Although a need for leveling the playing field was addressed with the creation of this exam, there were still many biases and errors that were evident in the test, which led to the creation of the ACT in 1959. The ACT was created to address this need, but in the process of doing so, it still creates some limitations for certain students by favoring students of particular socioeconomic statuses and learning styles. The background information from these facts alone lead me to present my informative speech today, explaining both the advantages and disadvantages of standardized testing for college admissions and scholarship awardings. For many years, the discussion of standardized testing has been rampant. This conversation has become increasingly heated in the last few years with the recent scandals in the news and media. However, even with this reality, we have two sides to this argument. People who feel that standardized testing that should be utilized because it is a great indicator of college success, and we have those opposing it who feel that these tests do more harm for students than good. I will begin my speech today by firstly presenting the cons to utilizing these standardized tests. According to the College Board responses to the SAT is just a modest prediction of student success after high school GPA is taken into account. Their internal study validated this in finding that if test score information was lost after the high school GPA was taken into account, it made very little difference in the admissions decision. Many colleges and universities look for an upward trend in GPA as a better indicator of college success, rather than just solely scores from the SAT and ACT. This lends itself to the fact that some good students are just bad test takers, especially when these tests are given under stressful conditions and time constraints. The SAT and ACT are both timed tests, given under the span of about 3 to 4 hours. And in doing so, they test a wide variety of different sections. This time constraint proves to be a great stressor for students and a contributing factor to the scores that many students get on these tests. Not only this, but it has been also proven that these multiple choice tests don't reveal much about a student. In many cases, these test a student's ability to guess rather than reflect the student's intellectual capabilities. However, one of the biggest disadvantages to the utilization of these exams would be that it provides unfair advantages to individuals of wealthier and more affluent backgrounds. According to researchers from the University of Southern California, people from wealthier backgrounds earn higher SAT scores compared to their lower income peers. This difference in wealth was a larger gap than the gap found between people of different races. The Washington Post found that families earning more than $200,000 per year had a significantly higher score in comparison to families earning under $20,000 a year. This is due to the fact that many people from wealthier families have the ability to take the SAT and ACT multiple times, which is known to increase its score. The cost of the SAT ranges from about $50 to $70, depending on the tests and the sections that you choose to take or omit. And this can be a burden for many individuals. Furthermore, the wealthier school districts tend to have better funding, better access to tutors, and even standardized test prep courses that many other people don't have the access to. The goal for these tests are to be objective ratings of these students' performances, but are they really as objective as they seem? Ithaca College has already tested the removal of the SAT and ACT scores from their application. They found that enacting this no-test policy, that although the quantity of their applications went down, the quality of their applications went up. They found that applications to their institution were more motivated, mature, disciplined, and consistent. In addition to this, class diversity increased to 31% of students of color, and the percentage of students who were first-generation students in their family rose from 12% to 18%. Upon removing these scores, this college was better able to value recommendation letters from mentors and assess factors such as community engagement as being critical components of their admissions decision. They were able to better review an applicant in a holistic manner. On the opposing side, there are many people who feel that these standardized tests are indeed important indicators of a student's future college success. Similar to the opposing research, there's also research that shows standardized test scores do indeed correlate closely with individuals' achievement in college and beyond. Because these tests were created on the premise of leveling the playing field, the Washington Post states how these tests are good at discerning differences between A-, B+, and C students, and what these grades mean relative to the thousands of high school students who submit their scores each year. The variation in school courses, AP classes, and grading systems makes the SAT and ACT a universal method of evaluating a student's potential success. Each high school grades and teaches differently, so these tests allow for a means of rating applicants without these misleading factors being taken into account. As the Hechinger report states, these standardized tests provide a neutral yardstick in the college admissions process. In addition to this, the Hechinger report also states and further elaborates on how scores for the exams have remained relatively constant in comparison to grade inflation that is apparent in many affluent high schools across the country. If admissions counselors were to rely solely on grades as being the sole determinant of a potential student's success, it may result in just being implausible and inaccurate. In conclusion, the debate of whether standardized test scores should be utilized for college admissions and college and scholarship awardings remains a very polarizing topic. The advantages for usage of this test include it's a neutral measurement in the college admissions process, it helps discern the differences in students' capabilities, and it can be more reliable than grades are valid points. The disadvantages are just as valid. These disadvantages include it is a modest prediction of student success, it's expensive and stressful, and lastly, it reinforces bias in between people of different socioeconomic statuses. After hearing both sides of the story, now it's up to you to decide. Should standardized tests be used for college admissions and scholarship awardings? Thank you.